Hi, this is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com with another episode of Fast Action Fridays. And today is a very important guest because she's talking about a very important topic. Legal advice for home-based businesses. And that kind of includes keeping our identities safe online and offline. My guest today is Lin Schussler-Williams, who's down in Louisville, Kentucky area. And full disclosure right up front, we are both associates of a wonderful service called Legal Shield. But the advice we have for you today goes far beyond using that particular service. Say hi to everybody, Lynn.
Hi, glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Kat.
Now, can you tell everybody a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. So I am a professional speaker. I am an author of a book called 9 Little Words to Change Your Results. And I am a sales coach, the indie sales coach for clients who are, for the most part, solopreneurs. I have a few that are just very small businesses, but most of my clients, they are their whole business. So I love working with small business people. That's my passion, is helping them find their way to more sales, better client selection, more clients in their business, all that. So that's where I come from.
Right. And I first learned about Legal Shield years ago when a friend introduced it to us, and it was known as prepaid legal then. And then I got reintroduced to it from you, and it's morphed into something even better now called Legal Shield. And my main business is a business life coach and a marketing strategist. Legal Shield is something that I have for my own business and family, and I'm associate just because so many of my clients can use that same a need for that same type of service. You, on the other hand, are my go-to expert for understanding Legal Shield, and I know what you don't know, you know where to get the answer from. So I want to jump right into the meat of today's interview, which is give us 3 tips that help home-based business owners truly understand why they need easy and affordable access to legal advice.
So here are the 3 top reasons. And remember that I'm a sales coach, a business coach for people who are solopreneurs, home-based business people, like consultants, coaches of every variety. And so from that perspective, I can tell you the 3 top reasons that as a home-based business person, you want to be sure you have good legal advice are distractions, and distractions. Because, when things happen in life to us as just individual people, it takes us out of our business, right? So this is what happened to me yesterday. Yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky, we had in the morning a big wind and rain event. There was lightning and thunder, and I'm like, what month is this? It was wild, and there was lots of water and heavy wind for just a little while. And down in my front yard came about a third of a 100-year-old tree.
Oh.
And it fell toward my neighbors, didn't hit their house, but it went across their power lines and pulled the power lines down and pulled it off their house. So I was the one that was at home because I have a home-based business. So I'm outside standing in the rain, calling 911, the fire department comes, and then the gas and electric company comes, and then the electricians come. Meanwhile, the neighbor has come home from work and they're dealing with it, and I call my attorney because I can. And I say, what are my liabilities here? Do I need to worry about this electrician bill at my neighbor's? What is going on, and how do you find that out if you're a home-based business person? So my attorney called me right back, assured me that under these circumstances, and I won't go through all what they were, but I had no liability for that. It was an act of God. There was nothing. And what a relief. So instead of spending the bulk of my day dealing with the neighbors and trying to figure out and talking to my husband and calling him and saying, what do you think we ought to do and all this stuff, I just dealt with it. I was empowered to call my attorney and find out the right answer. So it took about, 45 minutes of my day instead of most of the day dealing with the darn tree. So
oh yeah, and that 45
what
minutes
I mean.
May have been stressful, but you weren't stressed the entire time. I mean, you had an answer. You could go forward with a lot of confidence.
Yes.
I can feel for you because we had a very similar thing happen a year ago in our backyard when the tree split, and luckily the side of the tree that fell away from our house, but over the neighbor's fence. He raises dogs, and the dogs were all over, took out their electric, their cable, their telephone, and
all of it.
Exactly. And
so, but the point is really, as a home-based business person, how things come up in life and we deal with them, and that takes us out of our business. So when we have the resources we need, when we have someone to get the right advice from, when we know, so even though it still took 45 minutes to an hour of my day, Kat, none of that had the wasted energy of worry. Because even before I called my attorney, I knew I could. I knew I'd get the answer I needed. I knew I'd get it in a timely way. So I didn't have that extra kind of what's happening worry.
You also weren't expecting a bill for the time you spent on the phone because it's built into your membership fee.
That's right.
Is one of the things I love.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
Another example from my side, from inside the business, is I love being able to say, I've got a coaching agreement. Could somebody review it? Make sure that I'm handled it correctly.
Absolutely right. We all sign contracts constantly, but as home-based business people, just over and over, I have had opportunities. So I mentioned I'm an author. The very first time I ever had a document reviewed by my attorney and by my law firm was when I got a contract from my publisher that was 10 pages long with little numbered paragraphs, in tiny little print. And I was able to send that off to my attorney and say, should I sign this? Everybody kept saying to me, if you're writing a book, you don't want to give away the rights to your book. You need to be so careful. And I was terrified that I was going to do something that would mess all that up. And so many coaches have a book. So many, consultants have a book. And if they don't have one yet, they ought to have one soon because it's a game changer.
I've got books too, and I've had those writing contracts, and it was, it's interesting to note what is standard boilerplate text that people hope you don't understand and just sign away, and what's actually negotiable in your contract.
Absolutely right. And there are things that are contracts we sign in our business. And then there are things that we sign as a home-based business. We might sign contracts with some service provider that's providing it for our home, but it's essential to our business too. For instance, my cable provider also provides my internet access. Well, the cable is not essential to my business, but that internet access is, right? That's a big deal. And so that contract, or say I'm getting bills that don't make sense from maybe my rate goes sky high, or, now I have someone to go to if I feel I'm being treated unfairly about a bill. So that's another, as a solopreneur, as somebody who I am my whole business and I don't have partners to go to, and I don't have to be able to say, wait a minute, I wasn't supposed to get billed $80 a month for that. I was supposed to get billed $50 a month for that, or whatever it is, you know,
Exactly.
to have someone who could make a phone call, write a letter, get a response. It's empowerment.
I want you to explain your experience having, receiving that dreaded IRS audit notification.
Oh, yeah. So once upon a time, in I believe it was October of 2015, I received a letter from the Internal Revenue Service that said, your 2014 return has been selected for review.
Lucky
and they
you.
truly make you feel you've like won something. But no, it was an audit letter, and I sent the letter off to my law firm, and they called me back and said, yes, you're being audited, and we're assigning you a tax attorney. So I got assigned this tax attorney, and I asked him his background the way you would anyone who was the first time you'd used a service provider. And so he's been an attorney in my hometown for 30 years, and before that he worked for the IRS for a little while. And I said, how much would you charge me if I walked in off the street for you to represent me at my audit? He said $450 an hour.
Oh.
And he said that without batting an eye. And I thought, wow. And so he represented me to the IRS. I never saw the IRS. I never saw them. I spoke with them once on the phone, but I never saw them. I was picking my son up from school and taking him holiday shopping when my audit meeting happened. And I, you know, that's a covered service within our Legal Shield membership. And I estimate that having that service saved me about $6,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty much.
There are so many reasons we sometimes don't think about as home-based business owners that where we would probably seek legal advice. We know we could use a legal opinion, but we hesitate to do it because the cash flow isn't there for an unexpected bill like the one you just described that was not something you built into your budget to handle on a off chance you might be audited.
Yes, that's so right. And it's also, you know, so cash flow when businesses are starting, say it's a home-based business that's new, and they're, you know, every state is different, but you know, at the very least, it's going to cost you to file your LLC or your S Corp or whatever you're doing. And what about the advice about how to do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can ask your CPA if you have one, you know, but what about the legal side of that advice as well? So it's really important to just be able to do what you need to do in your business. I like to say that I began to treat my business like a business when I got the help I needed and the advice I needed. You know, we can operate our business on a day-to-day basis without it, just putting out fires and reacting and all of that. But when we start to treat it like a business, we have things like budgets that you just mentioned. We have things like advice on the legal issues that we are facing. We have, and you know, we think of legal issues as trouble, right? And as a Legal Shield member, I often say it's not, I don't have this because I'm a troublemaker.
Exactly.
I promise. You know, this is because I want to make better decisions.
Exactly.
I want to make better decisions for my business and my family and all of that.
And informed decisions.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, when I signed that contract for my book, as I said, I sent the contract in to be reviewed by the law firm here in Kentucky where I live. And they called me back the next day and said, here's what we think. We have 2 questions we think you ought to ask. But we want to send this to our Ohio law firm as well, because the company you're contracting with is an Ohio corporation. and there might be something about Ohio law that we, the Kentucky attorneys, don't know. So we'd like that law firm to review it too. I said, of course, because it didn't cost me anything. So off to Ohio went my contract, and they called me the next day and said, we have these 2 questions we think you should ask. And interestingly enough, they were 2 different questions. So I had 4 total. I asked them all. And for the first time in my adult life, I signed one of those 10-page numbered paragraph contracts with confidence, knowing that I was not giving my book away, knowing that it was in my best interest to sign that contract. And that was just huge to me. It was just huge.
Right. And unlike traditional publishing, where having an agent can really help you out and you hope that they have the correct legal information. I have had an agent for some of my nonfiction books in the past, but she didn't do any more help than what you described, and probably less helpful. Not the
yes,
the
because she's not an attorney, probably.
And we should probably point out, no matter what legal service you use, it is tax deductible if you're using it for your business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, absolutely.
We've got a few more minutes because we're home and our lives interact with our businesses even more than they do if you have a corporate type job or a 9-to-5 job. What are some of the other things that we might want to have legal advice about, or that we may not think about? What are some of the other issues that might come up?
So lots of things. The biggest one that I want to mention is it's an epidemic today, and people of all walks of life are having to deal with it, and that's identity theft. The Federal Trade Commission in the United States says that it takes the average consumer over 200 hours and 9 months if they have to try to fix their own identity theft issue. And it is the fastest growing crime. For the last 15 years, it has been the #1 reported complaint to the Federal Trade Commission. Wow. So this is real. And talk about a distraction. I don't know about you, but for a long time, I thought if anybody steals my identity, they can just have it, because I'm never going to go through what you have to go through to fix it. And then one day, I started getting all these letters from Anthem. And I would get 5 a day, one for me, one for my husband, and one for each of our 3 children, because our information had been stolen in a big breach. And now I started to think, my children's information is out there. I can't just go, well, they can just have it. We're talking about my children. So I had to get serious about identity theft, and it's a game changer for us as home business, because we have all our business information on our home computers. What if that gets hacked? We have our clients' information. What if that gets hacked? What are our liabilities, right? What are our, oh my goodness, makes my head spin just thinking about it. But so we want to be prepared, and we want to be sure that we have a service that doesn't just monitor our credit. We want to be sure we have a service that restores our identity for us, so that we don't have to take that more than 200 hours and more than 9 months out of our lives. My business would fold if I took that kind of time off. Yeah, that would be the end of my home-based business, right? It wouldn't exist anymore. So if I even took 1 month off, I think it might be devastating. So that's a huge one, Kat, that we need to just be aware of. And certainly I rely on Legal Shield for that as well. Right.
And what about issues with kids? I mean, if we're like young adults ourselves, which I'm not.
Yes.
I know I've got you beat by a little bit, by probably quite a bit, but
no, I don't think so.
Some of the younger people watching this saying, "Oh, I'll worry about that when I'm older." I don't own it.
Absolutely.
It's like, what would you say to them?
Yes. I would say to them, I say this to them all the time. I talk to our millennial generation a lot, first of all, I have a 21-year-old daughter, and she is a Legal Shield member. She has the legal plan on our family plan, but her identity theft is covered in her own identity theft policy because she is over 18. She can make her own financial decisions and all of that. And our children today are being born with and being assigned Social Security numbers that are already compromised. Mm-hmm. Because the identity thieves have figured out the sequencing of the numbers, and they're just waiting for someone to get it assigned so they can start to use it.
They're all online and
yes. So our children and our elders are targeted more than people our age, because people our age have credit, and we have, we're watching it, we're doing things, we're active enough in our lives. But our elders and our children, people aren't watching as much because they aren't using it. And so that's a real danger. So if our home-based businesses, lots of home-based business owners are moms who are at home because they want to be near their children, they want to spend time with their children while they build their business. And for those people, I say, you need to understand that your children's identities are at risk. And you're not going to be able to be like me and say, oh, just let them have it, because it's your kids. So it's that, and then it's the millennials. So I have a young man I just sat down with this morning he has a home-based business. He is in a network marketing company. He's a coach, a swim coach, for two different ways that he does that. So he has two different sets of clients as a swim coach. And he's a health and wellness kind of guru. He's 26 years old. Wow. And he was kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure I see that, and I don't know. And so we started talking about it. He said, oh, here's what he said. He said, my dad's best friend is a lawyer. And I said, that's great. So you're traveling more and more with your network marketing business, right? You're going to other markets, you're speaking, you're doing all this. Yes, yes. What are you going to do when you go to Michigan to speak and you get a speeding ticket in Michigan? Is your dad's best friend on the bar in Michigan? Is he going to help you there? Well, no. So that would be great. So what are you going to do when it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you got pulled over, and they want to search your car? Are you going to have instant access to an attorney who will tell you what to say and what not to say, and whether it's okay to refuse to have your car searched? And he was like, no, I probably wouldn't want to call him at 2 a.m. So, it's all of these things. Is your dad's attorney going to go to the IRS with you when you get audited? It's like, we just have to expand our thinking in terms of how we treat our business like a business, and we help our young millennials understand that they don't want to be bothered, and they don't. Right. They do not want to be bothered with all of that stuff that comes with being a home-based business owner.
Right. And there's only so much free advice that you can expect from someone else to give you there, or they wouldn't have their businesses either. They're not obligated to you.
That's right. That's so right.
This is great information. And you and I have talked for hours sometimes about all of the little things that can come up. I mean, most of us have websites now, and you need the legal notices and the privacy disclosures and the affiliate disclosures, and they have to be written in a certain way. If you're in a certain country, you've got to be able to let people know that you've got cookies on your site. And it's like, you can do a lot of research and read a lot of things about what needs to be done, but where is the confidence that you've implemented all of this stuff correctly when things change so quickly?
Absolutely. And I'm not the kind of person who wants to do any of that research. That sounds like a nightmare to me. Like, I'll just go back and get a job, thanks. I don't want to have to do all that research. I wouldn't be good at it. I would be terrified if I were living my life and my business based on what I could figure out. That would just be the end of me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to have a link in available with the replay for today that includes a way to get some more information about Legal Shield and the ID Shield. And I just want people to take that with a grain of salt. We're not expecting you to jump right in with us just because we're recommending it. We're recommending that you get some type of regular legal assistance for you and your business, because it's the right thing to do if you expect to grow your business. We happen to think that Legal Shield offers the best combination of things and what really sold me when we came back, because my husband and I were prepaid legal members several years ago and dropped it because we didn't see the need for it, blah, blah, blah. I was astounded at how inexpensive it is to have that type of assurance and connection to legal help with Legal Shield. I mean, we're paying, I'm paying $19.99 a month for my family plan and $9.99 a month for the business supplement. That's incredible. I mean, I can go a whole year and have to go to a regular attorney maybe once for my will or once for this, and I've already spent that much.
Oh, more for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. On average across the whole country, attorneys are $250 an hour. A will for a couple on average across the country is between $500 and $1,000, and in some markets it's double that.
Exactly.
So absolutely, you'll if you do anything with it, you pay for it quickly.
I have a brother-in-law who's an awesome attorney, and he helped us out when we were running a business, and there was a hiccup in our purchasing agreement, and the deal fell through, but there was some trouble with the person who ultimately bought it, and we had to sue to get some of our equipment, and he did a wonderful job. But when I think about how much that cost us, even at the discounted rate he gave to a family member, I'm thinking, man, I wish I had Legal Shield then. It would have been a different scenario.
I have a sister-in-law who's an attorney, but she's not an attorney who deals with traffic issues, and she's not an attorney who will write your will, and she's not an attorney, she knows those people. But the people she knows, that's just a recommendation to someone she knows. They're not going to give me a better rate, right? Because I happen to be the sister-in-law of, somebody they know.
And I like that when we call in, they do route us to somebody who's an expert in that particular field of either family law or the business. All right, Lynn, last bit of advice for us today.
Well, I would say this. I want to echo what you said about we're not saying to you, I don't expect anybody, you haven't even gotten enough information yet to evaluate Legal Shield, but think seriously about protecting your home-based business, taking your business to the level where you treat it like a business by having legal advice about the decisions you make and having true identity theft restoration protection in place for you and your family, because otherwise it's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. At this point, all of us are going to have to deal with the identity theft epidemic. And so, be ready. Don't let all your passion and your excitement and your hard work for your home-based business get, derailed by these distractions of legal issues and identity theft issues.
Exactly. So if you don't think you can afford to have ongoing, easy access to legal advice, can you afford the outcome if something goes wrong? It's like,
absolutely right. Can you afford, and even if you think the timing, I would deal with the identity theft myself or something. Can you afford the time away from your business? All of it is, it's time consuming.
Right. And it happens, like you mentioned, so much more often. I can easily count on both hands the number of friends who've had to deal with identity theft in the last 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
the hoops they had to go through. It's frightening. I talked to a guest for Fast Action Friday last week, and she's a IRS certified tax professional, and she was talking about one of the scams going on now is for people to turn in bogus tax returns really early. So by the time you get around to doing yours, somebody's already claimed your money if you've got anything coming back.
Absolutely.
That's super scary, and that's
I have a Legal Shield and ID Shield member who's a fellow parent at my child's school who that happened to last year. She went to file her taxes and the IRS said, "Excuse me, but we've already paid you your refund."
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't to her.
Yeah, exactly.
And tax fraud is one of the fastest growing. The other one is medical fraud, and that one's truly frightening. Now that we have electronic medical records, if someone steals your medical identity and your insurance numbers and all of that and goes and has services in your name, it used to be the worst thing about that is they wouldn't pay their bill and then you would have the debt and you would have to prove that it wasn't you. But today, with electronic medical records, I actually know someone who lost his wife because she got emergency treatment in an emergency room based on her electronic medical record, and it wasn't her.
Right.
And she died.
Right.
So
That's
that's
horrible. I can say from my own experience, I'm allergic to a lot of medications, and I have a Cat Sturtz isn't common, but the name I went by before Kathy, Henderson, is very common. In fact, there's 3 just in our county alone. And my records came up with the wrong address in the hospital once. And I said, no, that's not me. I'm the one that's highly allergic to penicillin. I can't have that medicine. And it wasn't anything deliberate. Nobody was trying to do anything wrong on purpose, but it happens. And you've got to protect yourself. Thank you so much for being with us today, Lynn. And I'm going to make sure that people understand how to get in touch with you if they have questions, how to get in touch with me, how to get more information about Legal Shield. But it's not the only firm out there, but like we said, it's the one that we've found that works the best overall for our needs and are very comfortable with it.
Absolutely.
This is Cat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com, closing another episode of Fast Action Fridays. I want to remind you to come back next week when I have another awesome guest, and we're going to be talking about more things that affect you in your home-based business. Until then, remember to keep rocking your unique path to success. Bye.